and the hiring practices are changing. So thank you so much. I think Aman is waiting restlessly. Finally, it's his turn. So Aman, we are talking about ecosystems. We are talking about resilience that needs to be built in women so that they move up that glass staircase, so-called glass staircase. So, what would you suggest, or from your consulting experience, if you could share what are the things that need to be done so that women become more resilient and they are able to overcome the challenges? And so, what are organizations doing in terms of providing psychological safety and holistic growth for women?
Thank you. So first of all, thank you for pointing out that I was restless. It brought more attention to the fact that I'm the only one here in this panel. Okay, so jokes aside, I want to first address one question that we've all been talking about having more women in the workforce, helping women go up the ladder. Why should we really do this? Or rather, why should an organization really put some importance on this? So I think Deeksha said some valid points. I'll probably just add on to that one thing. I'm going to start with a small story. So my wife works with a not for profit, and last year she was interviewing with them, and they were asking her questions about her experience. And one of the things that came up was she's worked in the DNI part of HR. So she said, I helped my previous organization go from a 16% women workforce to a 25% workforce. And she was like, all beaming with this and looking at him. And he said, so he turned around and he looked at her and he said, okay, good. The percentage over here is 60%. So here's a question for all of you. Apart from being surprised, what do you think it did for her? Who would like to, anybody can volunteer and answer. What did this response make her feel as someone seeking employment with them? Who would like to answer? Anyone? And it'll be a very casual conversation, don't worry. Anybody can answer. Who would like to volunteer for this? Okay, then I'll have to pick one. Okay, do you mind answering what impact do you think it had on her? Yeah, you can if you want. Go for it. Do you need a mic? Right, thank you. Okay, here's a long distance high five for you. Thank you for your answer. So one more thing. If how do you think she felt with regard to wanting to be a part of such a culture? Can somebody else add on to that? Gentleman over here, like she said earlier, gentleman. Can you?
I think the fact that she would feel good about it, right? She would want to add more women workforce. I would say.
Make it 100%?
No, I would say you think of a certain target that you want to achieve, and she would increase that. Hearing that.
Okay. So how many of you all agree that the fact that it was a great number over here helped her to almost be sure that this is a safe place to work and it would be that there would be no biases over here? Do you think that contributed to it? Yeah. So then how do you think in general this would act as an attraction for people to apply to this organization? How do you think it would be? Even for men, I mean, at least let's say forward thinking men, how would they feel if they knew that this is how the things were balanced in this organization? Would it help them to be more attracted to such an organization? So what's the benefit to an organization then in that case? Easier to get higher performing talent, lesser churn maybe. So it's a simple no-brainer in that case that if an organization does this, it's not just for morality like Diksha was saying, it's actually going to help them to save easier to attract high talent, so you save, right? So that's the first. This story basically concludes that this is why an organization will actually really benefit from this business outcomes, business imperatives, like you were talking about, right? So now let's also talk about how an organization can help in psychological safety and holistic growth for women as such. So I'm going to share, if time permits, all three things. I'll try to share maximum with you. These are things based on the research that I have been able to do by working with a lot of organizations purely for their emotional well-being for their employees and to help them to perform at their best. So for the first one, again, I'm going to ask a question. How many of you all over here, so you all are all in, do you do your classes? I'm sure you have a lot of group assignments and you have to participate in your class as well. When I was in IMI, I had a professor who used to give special marks for CP, class participation. Does that still exist? Okay, that's a big yes. So people are still awake over here. So how many of you all think twice before answering something in your class? You can raise your hands. I won't bite. Okay, great. So that's a lot of people. So you think twice before answering in your class, right? Okay. So is this a general human tendency to be a little fearful of how you will be evaluated, how you will be judged? Yeah. So there were a lot of men and women over here. So this is a human tendency. It has nothing to do with women, right? Now here's the case. As a default base setting, humans fear being judged. Now there was an example given by Vibha initially, that she walked into a room and normal human tendencies to feel judged, and what happened with her? There was further judgment that you must be from HR only, correct? So what do you think women, what is the conclusion out of this for all of you? What is this first challenge that women experience in organizations? Now people are easily answering. Can you now speak? Fear of judgment, correct? So here's what happens. There's a term for this also. It's called the double bind of gender stereotypes. And I have another term for it, which is called damned if you do, damned if you don't, which means, let's say there's a woman leader, okay? Her team one person has not performed well, and in a team meeting, she spoke to him as in the following way. These are your targets. You have been struggling over here. It would be great if next time you really focused on this and you achieved these targets. Guess what will be the general perception of such a leader? Too lenient, is not strong enough. And if she had gone the other way, next time you don't do this, there will be serious repercussions. Too bossy, too aggressive. So for women, it goes higher. I mean, I have so many panelists here. Have you ever observed this?
Absolutely. We call it the double bind biases, like you rightly said. Go this way or that way of the spectrum, you are going to have to deal with it.
So if an organization wants to help women with this, so obviously this is a challenge that causes some amount of stress, and it prevents women from being able to do their work properly, right? So it's a worry. They have a worry over here. So the first thing that an organization needs to do to address this particular point is to create a culture which was spoken about a little bit earlier, where every employee feels free to be able to speak and do and even make mistakes and not feel very easily judged. So this has to start at the most senior level. Now, I'm not trying to praise myself or something. Way before, even when I started my first organization, I've been an entrepreneur now this is the 12th year. Even then, I would tell all my people who are working for me very clearly, I am leading you. I am not Superman. I can make mistakes. How they took it was on them. I was simply trying to help them understand that I also have emotions. Sometimes I will also feel stressed and I'm going to make mistakes. So I didn't realize at that time that I was possibly helping to solve this problem as well. This is something that leaders need to inculcate in their own work. Do you agree? If you all agree, raise your hand. Does this make sense? Yeah? Excellent, great. So find one more thing an organization can do for this. I'm going to draw on something from the bulletproofing happiness framework over here. So if they can initiate a company-wide training program where they can help their employees overall to deal with stress, worry, fear by using a concept called the controllables versus non-controllables. So let me ask again. In this situation where women have this fear that they might get easily judged, what are some of the things that they can do to overcome this? Any suggestions? Even anybody on the panelist is free to answer. What can they do? Okay, for example, can they try to figure out how to communicate more effectively and neutrally, be assertive and maybe not aggressive, try to find the right balance because it becomes more important for them? Can they do that? If they can do that and you agree, can you raise your hand? Okay. Can women ensure that somebody else's perception of them is under their control? Can they make sure that this happens? No, right? So is one of them a controllable, is another one a non-controllable? So if they can use this framework and help the women to develop this kind of mindset that there are certain things that they can control and things that they cannot control. So there's no point in becoming extra stressed about something that they may not be able to control and simply focus on what they can do and then move on. So that's one example I just wanted to give from the bulletproofing happiness framework. If that can be employed in the training program, that really helps, right? So let me, I don't, maybe I'll see if there's enough time left. So let me go with the second point now. Running short? How much time is left? Take a minute. Okay, so then I'll quickly tell you the other 2 points. The second point, as she gave a lot of data also about, right? There is, I think, 19% people, 19% women in leadership roles, and when you go to the CXO level, it comes down to about 12% or something, right? So what does this signify? The problem over here is that there is some unconscious bias in helping women go up the ladder and in promoting them, right? So a simple solution for this is, again, building on what the others have said, an organization needs performers. Performers have certain key parameters on which they have to be judged. Now, if you're employing somebody, you only need somebody who can achieve those goals. It doesn't matter who they are. In fact, these days it doesn't even matter if you're not even a human. How many people have seen chief happiness officers as dogs on companies' websites? Right? So I've been in the startup world, so that proves that if you're fulfilling the goal, then that's all that's required. Right? And the third point, it's probably related to the 3 M's. Women go through something called, there's a higher chance that they go through something in their life which is called having 2 shifts. One work shift in the morning and one work shift in the evening at home. So that's a significant challenge that they have to help them to overcome. And if there was more time, we would have gone into it in more detail. So thank you. Yeah.